I want to talk today about a harsh reality that very few people talk about, specifically with reference to the many gurus and scammers out there. Now, before proceeding, I want to give a shout out to the channel Rehab Room. It is a pretty black pill channel, but I would recommend it. And specifically, I want to give a shout out to Rehab Room for his video covering Hamza, aka Bathrobe Man, and his scammer online university. So I'll be linking that video in the low bar. It's called Hamza's False Hope University. And if you're into black pill content, I would definitely recommend Rehab Room. It's a good channel. He doesn't pull any punches, and he's pretty honest about the reality that we inhabit. So some of the stuff I have to say will dovetail with that a fair bit. And Hamza's a perfect example of this. He's a scammer. He charges his acolytes ungodly amounts of money for his alleged wisdom, and he's exploiting them. And part of what Rehab Room did cover in that video, and I'm going to have my own take on this, is this notion of becoming an entrepreneur. You hear this all the time from red pill scammers and gurus that you need to become an entrepreneur. Now, formally speaking, an entrepreneur just means a businessman. Someone who has a business who sells a product and makes money with it, something along those lines. But all these scammers who talk about this, especially Hamza, make extravagant claims about the potential people have. And the first thing they never tell you or want you to know is, why are these scammers like Hamza, Bathrobe Man, and others encouraging all these young guys, these benighted lost young souls, as it were, to become entrepreneurs? One thing they don't tell you is that we need more than entrepreneurs in life for this world to run efficiently, to have civilization. Now, this is a thought experiment, but imagine if every human on Earth were an entrepreneur. What would happen? Well, when the one entrepreneur got appendicitis, he would probably die because his appendix would probably explode because there'd be no doctors. The trash outside your home would start piling up and stinking because there would be no garbage men anymore. Have a serious issue, you need a paramedic, forget about that. Starbucks would shut down, not that it's terribly important, because there would be no employees anymore because everyone's an entrepreneur. So you see what happens with this notion. Everyone needs to become an entrepreneur. And not just somebody running a business. The old school idea of creating a useful product and selling it to people who will benefit from it. No, you need to become a scammer, making videos about how you can ascend with internet memes about Jeffrey and Adonis. That's what you need to do to become a quote-unquote entrepreneur. Now, you probably know that most entrepreneurial endeavors fail. Most business endeavors fail in general. And again, Rehab Room made a really nice analysis of this. But do you really think most people can just go online and do what Hamza did? Only the gods know why Hamza succeeded. There's nothing particularly special about the guy. He's okay looking and he has a pretty decent body, but the reasons as to why he blew up as opposed to other channels are pretty mysterious. So most people running the same scam probably will not be successful. In many ways, he was one of the earliest people to directly capitalize on the loneliness and state of being lost that a lot of young men feel, because he realized, and I hate to use the word, there were a lot of chumps out there that would spend money to quote-unquote attend his university in an effort to gain a social circle. Really, that's all it is. If you read the testimonials on his scammer university homepage, it's all about other guys getting to other guys and feeling less alone in the world. And of course, with the occasional quote about how Daddy Hamza has handed down his great wisdom to his disciples and how they've profited and how it's so worth the $500 entry fee and $100 a month that they pay. Again, most entrepreneurial endeavors fail, and the world needs more than just entrepreneurs. And I would argue, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you probably want to offer something more useful than just being a scammer. I mean, some scammers succeed. You've seen them in the mega churches before, and Hamza is a very successful scammer. There's no doubt about that, but why that's worth emulating is questionable, I think. But at the core of this is something that not just outright scammers like Hamza won't tell you, but all the big podcast gurus, the Chris Williamsons of the world, the Tom Bilyeux, and all the rest of them, they're not going to tell you this. If there are winners in the world, then by definition, there have to be losers. Not even losers in the most traditional sense, as in people who've achieved nothing, living in the gutter, but this idea that they don't want you to know about because that's what their sales pitch is, even if they're not directly selling it to you. Although Tom Bilyeux actually does have a sales package because he is a multi-billionaire, apparently, and he can teach you how to do that too, apparently, that most people are never going to be millionaires. It's like that line from Fight Club that I love to quote. We've all been raised on television to believe that one day we'd all be millionaires and movie gods and rock stars, but we won't. And we're slowly learning that fact. And we're very, very pissed off. Minus the very, very pissed off part. A lot of people are buying into this tripe that everyone can be a millionaire or billionaire, and the world is not divided, in fact, by winners and losers. I've said this before, it bears repeating. For every few men you see at the very top, there are heaps, piles and piles of men who have failed at the very same thing. Why don't you hear about them? Survivorship bias. And if you're really clever, like Hamza is, at least in this regard, you can turn your survivorship bias into an effective scam, and then you can make money off of it as well. And none of this is unique to these pretentious YouTube godheads that babble all day about how you can be a millionaire and you can be the one to succeed. The vast majority of people aren't going to be multimillionaires, let alone billionaires. And the way they frame this stuff as well, they sharp division between winners and losers. So if you're not a multimillionaire, you're not doing exactly what they're doing, i.e. you're not an entrepreneur, then you're a loser. You might be doing something really useful. Maybe you're a paramedic. Maybe you're just getting by. But God forbid you're not an entrepreneur and striving to do exactly what they do. These are the forgotten folk, by the way. The people, and above all men, who do lots of useful jobs you never think about. Maintaining telephone poles, being paramedics, collecting the trash. I've always had an enormous respect for these guys, even though I myself have straddled the worlds of blue-collar versus white-collar throughout my life. Precisely because I have done blue-collar jobs, but also because it's necessary. You want society to keep running. You can't just have a world of quote-unquote successful entrepreneurs. I've said this before. What if all the men doing the useful things, the necessary things, just went on strike? They said, I don't feel like doing this anymore. Watch the traffic jams pile up, the accidents, the unintended deaths, the lights go out. Now, for a variety of reasons, they're not going to do that because most of these guys are responsible and most of them have families, and many of them have families as well that they need to feed. But these gurus and scammers will never tell you that where there are winners, there have to be losers. You can win the lottery of life really big, or you can lose it and fail it really big too. That all exists. And the reason why some of these guys are quote-unquote skeptical about cynicism, or people complaining about their lot in life, is because A, they don't want to think about the possibility that they might be wrong in their assertions, and B, they don't want other people to realize that a lot of what they're saying is BS, and a lot of what they're doing is just a big scam. Everyone can be a multimillionaire. Everyone can be ultra successful. Everyone can look like a god. Everyone this, that, blah, 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 this, that, and the third, and the fourth, and the fifth, and so on. Now, I'm of the view that it is possible to lead a decent life and be successful in your own right without attaining any of these benchmarks these gurus and scammers tell you you need to attain in order to be quote-unquote successful. And obviously a lot of that's going to come down to your own personal desires, wants, and goals. But rest assured, you don't need to be a multimillionaire online guru podcaster or an online scammer in order to be quote-unquote successful. One of my closest friends is one of the most successful people in his field, but he earns a normal amount of money, but he's very content with his life. Such people actually do exist. And rather than serving as an example to young men who are lost, who unfortunately sometimes do act as chumps, throwing change at these scammers, who just want to take advantage of these guys' misery, being honest with men in general would be more helpful. Say, just look, most people aren't going to be super successful entrepreneurs in life, but that's okay. You can do other things. This is the false dichotomy that the gurus and scammers have painted for the sake of consumption, because it really redounds only to their own benefit to do so. Telling the truth rarely does. Yeah, in a world of winners, they're going to be losers. But the breadth and depth of loserdom is a lot less precisely defined when you exit the bubble of internet hype, fame, scammerdom, gurudom, etc., etc. There's a wide range of things you can pursue that are far from the definition of proper loserdom, as a young man that you can pursue that have absolutely nothing to do with entrepreneurship or scamming people online. And it's funny, it really would be the height of comedy if a scammer like Bathrobe Man had a serious accident in a world of only entrepreneurs and there were no paramedics to save him or take him to the hospital to put on the operating table because there'd be no doctor to operate on him because everyone's a scammer and everyone's an entrepreneur. That's the world that, I guess, according to what they claim, they want to create. But it's a non-functional world. Anyway, as always, thank you for tuning in. And special thanks, as always, to the people on my Patreon who help support the channel. You guys are the best. As well as people who drop me donations on PayPal. Also appreciate the support. You help to keep the channel going. And if you could engage in all the usual YouTube jazz of liking the video, sharing the video, commenting, subscribing, etc., and hitting that bell icon so you can be informed of my videos. Be much appreciated. The channel is shadow banned. And if I'm still alive, I'll check you out next time. Until then, may the gods watch over you. Bye-bye for now. If you liked this video, please like, share, and subscribe. And if you enjoy my content, please consider making a donation or becoming a patron. Thanks for watching.